going to cover the anatomy of the brain through the brain model. We're going to start with the cerebrum. So this is the cerebrum, and then these are the cerebral hemispheres. This line that goes through the center, like a sagittal cut, is the longitudinal fissure. The longitudinal fissure. Then we have the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is actually the outer layer of the brain. It's also referred to as the gray matter. Then we have the frontal lobe. This area right here is the frontal lobe. Then we have the central sulcus. The central sulcus is the groove that goes through, that divides the frontal and the parietal lobe. With the central sulcus, this groove that goes in, shows that it's number 5. Central sulcus divides the precentral gyrus and the postcentral gyrus. Now the precentral gyrus is in between the grooves that are lifted, this area right here. Then the postcentral gyrus. Then we have the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and then the occipital lobe. Then we have, when we open this brain up, this area right here is the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. Then right here, this area right here, that's the fornix. Corpus callosum, fornix. Alright, then we're going to move to the diencephalon. The diencephalon contains the thalamus right here, and this area right here, thalamus, and then the hypothalamus, the pineal gland, right here, number 23, the pineal gland, pineal gland, 23, thalamus, hypothalamus, pineal gland. The infundibulum is this white area that holds the pituitary gland. Infundibulum and the pituitary gland. Then we have the mammillary body. That's number 24, mammillary body. Then we're going to move on to the ventricles. In the ventricles, we have the lateral ventricle. The lateral ventricle is actually what's behind this area called the septum pellucidum. You can be shown in the dissection, this area, the septum pellucidum. If you put a hole in it, that's where the lateral ventricle is located. So septum pellucidum, also where the lateral ventricle is located. The third ventricle is located right here. Third ventricle. Then we have the cerebral aqueduct. The cerebral aqueduct is this space right here that goes through. Cerebral aqueduct. Then we have the fourth ventricle right here, in between the hypothalamus and the cerebellum. The fourth ventricle. The choroid plexus is this dark area right here, number 26, choroid plexus. So we have the lateral ventricle, septum pellucidum, third ventricle, cerebral aqueduct, the fourth ventricle, and the choroid plexus. These make up the ventricles. Then we're going to move on to the brainstem. In the brainstem, we have the midbrain, also called the mesencephalon. And then the midbrain is located like right here. Right here. Above the pons and the medulla oblongata, the midbrain. Then we have the corpora quadrigemina. The corpora quadrigemina is right here in the brainstem, and in the corpora quadrigemina is the superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. So this is the superior colliculi of the corpora quadrigemina and the inferior colliculi of the corpora quadrigemina. Then we have the cerebral peduncles. The cerebral peduncles are actually seen better in this area here, number 33, cerebral peduncle. And we can also see if we open it up, but we cannot. Cerebral peduncles right here. Then we're going to look at the pons. The pons is right here. That's the pons, the midbrain, medulla oblongata. And from this view, this is the pons, the bump. The pons, the medulla oblongata, and the midbrain is right here. And that is all for the anatomy of the brain.